So we seized over 500 pounds of drugs to include fentanyl and methamphetamine, and arrested over 171 members of the Sinaloa cartel.
DEA and ICE agents just unleashed the largest cartel takedown in U.S. history, a massive operation that dismantled the Sinaloa cartel's billion-dollar drug empire hidden in plain sight across New England. What they uncovered beneath the quiet suburbs of Boston exposed a shadow network more organized, more dangerous, and far more powerful than anyone had ever imagined. The shadow empire in Boston's backyard. Picture this: you're standing in Lawrence, Massachusetts, just 30 miles north of Boston, a historic mill town once built on immigrant dreams and hard work. But beneath that proud history, something dark had been festering. Something that would soon draw the attention of the most elite federal agencies in America. Because behind the brick mills and modest neighborhoods, one of the world's most ruthless criminal organizations had taken root. The Sinaloa cartel, a name that echoes fear across borders, had quietly turned New England into its own personal pipeline. Federal agents would later label it public enemy number one in the region. And for good reason. This wasn't some corner hustle or back alley operation. This was a multinational syndicate with reach stretching from the scorching deserts of Mexico to the snowy towns of New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. Tens of thousands of members and associates moved like ghosts, working around the clock to flood America's streets with deadly product. The most chilling revelation? Lawrence, Massachusetts, a city of fewer than 90,000 residents, had become the nerve center of the Sinaloa cartel's New England operation. From this unassuming city, waves of fentanyl, meth, cocaine, and heroin were distributed across the region, saturating communities, tearing families apart, and leaving devastation in their wake. What began as whispers of suspicious activity soon unraveled into one of the most complex and far-reaching drug conspiracies ever uncovered on U.S. soil, a shadow empire hiding in plain sight, right under Boston's nose.
Last week, we launched a Sinaloa crackdown operation targeting the entire drug supply network and the entire criminal network of the Sinaloa cartel worldwide, to include here in New England. Those results led to 171 arrests throughout New England, over 500 pounds of drugs to include methamphetamine and cocaine and fentanyl.
Over the years, the Sinaloa cartel transformed from a regional cocaine operation into a global drug empire, mastering the production and trafficking of synthetic narcotics. They revolutionized the game with their network of super labs in Mexico, enormous, secret facilities where trained chemists manufactured industrial-scale quantities of methamphetamine and fentanyl using precursor chemicals shipped in from China. These weren't small-time backroom setups, they were high-tech, pharmaceutical-grade factories capable of churning out hundreds of kilos of deadly product every single day. But the story takes an even darker turn. The cartel quickly realized that fentanyl was their ultimate goldmine. This synthetic opioid, up to 50 times stronger than heroin, could be made cheaply, smuggled easily, and sold for staggering profits. And the brilliance of such evil can even be called that was in how they chose to distribute it. Instead of selling fentanyl outright, the cartel began pressing counterfeit pills designed to look identical to legitimate prescription medications. Imagine being a college kid thinking you're buying an oxycodone for pain relief or an Adderall to pull an all-nighter. The pill looks perfect, same color, same markings, same packaging. But it's a fake. A deadly fake. Hidden inside is fentanyl, where as little as 2 milligrams, just enough to cover the tip of a pencil, is enough to kill. This strategy flooded American streets with poison disguised as medicine, a silent, calculated move that turned addiction into mass death and exposed just how far the Sinaloa cartel was willing.
DEA agent, I cannot tell the difference between a fake one and a real one. So we need to remind parents, schools, caregivers, everybody in the community, have those conversations with each other, have them with your kids.
The sheer boldness of the Sinaloa cartel's operations in New England was astonishing. They made no effort to conceal who they were. In fact, they flaunted it. Their drugs were marked with the Sinaloa cartel logo, as if they were selling a legitimate brand rather than deadly narcotics. As DEA Special Agent in Charge Gerald Forget of the New England Division aptly put it,
care. They just want to make money. They'll advertise it as Sinaloa.
Perhaps the most chilling part of the Sinaloa cartel's New England operation was how seamlessly they adapted to the digital age. Gone were the days of corner dealers and back-alley exchanges. The cartel had gone online, leveraging social media platforms to market and sell their lethal products. Their primary targets? Young people and unsuspecting students who had no idea they were interacting with one of the world's most powerful criminal organizations. Imagine a teenager casually scrolling through their feed, stumbling across what seems like a quick way to get study pills or party drugs, unaware that they're about to invite death to their doorstep. The cartel made the process disturbingly convenient, accepting payments through common apps and arranging deliveries through everyday services like Uber, Lyft, FedEx, and even the U.S. Mail.
Uber, right? Lyft, could be FedEx, could be U.S. Mail. One pill directly to your front door, all done. A couple taps on your phone.
The infrastructure the Sinaloa cartel built across New England was shockingly advanced, an empire of logistics and coordination that rivaled major corporations. From their command base in Lawrence, Massachusetts, cartel operatives maintained constant communication with high-ranking figures in Mexico and other U.S. states, orchestrating a cross-border drug pipeline with military-level precision. The shipments began in Mexican super labs, moved through California's entry points, and wound their way to carefully chosen stash houses scattered throughout New England. These weren't random drop-off locations. Each stash house was a tightly managed hub where hundreds of pounds of narcotics could be safely stored, repackaged, and distributed across the region. From the streets of Boston to the quiet towns of New Hampshire, from college campuses in Connecticut to fishing communities in Maine, the cartel had built a network so vast it resembled a spider's web of death and addiction. With Lawrence positioned firmly at the center, the spider itself, the human toll was staggering. Fentanyl had become the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45, claiming an estimated 196 lives every single day. Behind each statistic was a real story: a family torn apart, a future erased, a community left broken. And at the heart of that suffering was the Sinaloa cartel's New England operation, pumping tens of thousands of deadly doses into unsuspecting neighborhoods that had no defense against such a sophisticated, relentless machine. For federal investigators, this was not just another drug case, it was a slow-motion war. Over months, and likely years, they tracked the cartel's every move. They identified the stash houses in Lawrence, mapped out distribution routes to Vermont and New Hampshire, monitored the social media campaigns targeting teenagers, and even uncovered counterfeit pill factories producing fake Adderall and oxycodone tablets laced with fentanyl.